The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip, and let's go right into the studio because CJ has some breaking news.
Yes, breaking news for our viewers right now. Aaron Hernandez found guilty on all counts. He was found guilty of first-degree murder with extreme atrocity and cruelty, guilty with illegal possession of firearms, and guilty of illegal possession of ammunition. We are still waiting for the judge to come back with sentencing. Massachusetts requires, under mandatory sentencing guidelines, of a life sentence without the chance of parole for guilty in the first degree with extreme atrocity or cruelty. The sentence required also gets an automatic appeal to the Supreme Judicial Court. But the question is, what will they appeal it on? It was actually very interesting to see it happen because nobody knew what would occur with this particular trial. I mean, there were lots of questions, there were lots of wondering on what would happen and where this case would go. So as you see, Chip, there's always news in Fall River. We just don't know where we're going to go with it.
Yeah, even if it didn't start in Fall River, it always ends here. This is like the, you know, this is where we all come to for extreme atrocity. And with that, let's get to the next extreme atrocity. We have tomorrow, I'm on pins and needles here, even though I got a head cold. Excuse my voice, I'm a little stuffed up here. But tomorrow is the mayor's State of the City address, or state of the lack of the state of the city. I don't know. But it's the address, and everybody is waiting with bated breath to hear what our mayor is going to say about the state of the city. And, you know, things are swirling. Things are really moving now. They're talking about a tourism director. They're talking about a whole bunch of things on the horizon, all of which mean more money, spend more money, spend more money. And the crux of his final report, the final section of that report, was more taxes, more fees, more everything. Because, hey, that's what it's about. We're supposed to pay more taxes, you know, and it's a travesty. It seems that nobody remembers the city that they live in. I don't know, you know, I know that our former mayor used to eat in Providence almost every day, but it seems there's a lack of perspective on the people in the city of Fall River. I mean, I go out my door and I see people that are on fixed incomes, that are struggling to keep their homes, that have small pensions, and then we see people walking in front of the city council, like the Office of Economic Destruction, a man whose salary is well over $200,000, and he gets little bonuses here and there, and of course his wife makes pretty good money. I think she's still a realtor while she's a state rep, and you know, it really bothers me when we don't have a perspective that's based in reality, and it permeates everything we do in this city. Because all they do is regurgitate pie in the sky. We're going to fix everything with these pie in the sky fixes. And you know, that's not the real city of Fall River. Wake up. You know, I want you to go live in a 3-decker on, you know, on Orange Street or someplace like that for 6 months or so, and live on what these people who are making under $35,000 for a family of 4. I want you to see what you're doing to these people. You know, feel what you're doing. And then we come back with our fixes. Tourism director. And the Herald News had an article about finally it's time again for a tourism director. Really? Really? Come on. You know, it must be really difficult breathing with your head that far up your derriere. Because the fact is, look, let's be realistic. You know, if you can't, you can't be a marathon runner. You know, if you weigh 700 pounds, you can run a marathon, but you'll run it in about 27 hours. But the fact is, you've got to be realistic. And in order to move this city forward, we have to initially work with what we have here. We have to look at our population. We have to look at their income. We have to try to work with these factors that are a reality. It's not my imagination. The fact that we are the second lowest for per capita income of a city of our size, that we have the second highest percentage of people below the poverty level. Those are facts. But what do we get? Tourism director. Tourism. You know, how many times, I mean, this is absurd. I mean, okay, this is the scenario. I'm coming in from Pennsylvania or Ohio. And here I am on 195. And here I am with my family in our nice caravan. And I tell the wife, oh, honey, get your iPad out and Google this. We're coming to this place, Fall River. Let's see what's around here. And she Googles it and says, well, let's see. Within 15 or 20 minutes of this place, we have Newport, Rhode Island, that has Thames Street, Bowen 22, a prime steakhouse that's known pretty well. 12-mile drive, America's Cup yacht race history, Tennis Hall of Fame. We have Providence, Rhode Island with Federal Hill, world-class restaurants, one of the nicest, smaller cities on the eastern seaboard. And we're only about 35 minutes from the Cape. But wait a minute. Let's stop in Fall River, because look what it says here about Fall River. Their claim to fame is somebody who killed their mother and father with an axe. They're in the top 50 for crime, the top 50 for heroin addiction. There's no theaters. There's no fine arts. There's only one hotel. Yep, let's stop in Fall River.
And don't forget the claim to fame now that Aaron Hernandez is found guilty.
Aaron Hernandez is found guilty to city of Fall River. But look, let's be realistic. You know, we are not going to out-tourist some of the premier tourist destinations in this part of the country. Newport, Rhode Island is just, you know, it is a destination. People from all over the world go to Newport. There's movies, The Great Gatsby, The 12-Mile Drive. Let's be serious, people. And I had somebody tell me, oh yeah, but they don't have Portuguese food. Do you think people from the Midwest have any idea what Portuguese food is? And they're not going to try it. They're going to go down to the Cape and eat food that they understand. I mean, they're not going to get off just for Portuguese food. Why? Do we have this massive nationwide campaign to educate the world about the culinary delights of Portuguese food? No. Listen, let's be realistic. The tourism director is crap. It's another political job for somebody, and it's useless. Because just like when Ken Fiola predicted 500,000 tourists at the carousel, and we all know how that went, and the Bounty, and everything else. I mean, are we going to match waterfronts with Newport, Rhode Island? Are we going to match waterfronts with Cape Cod? No. But heaven forbid we look at things like containerized shipping, which actually is a commercial endeavor, which would bring money into the city, which would employ people, because you don't need to have a bachelor's degree to unload containers. I mean, let's not work within our means. Let's not build a foundation in this community based on what we have to work with. No, let's keep promising the pie in the sky. We're going to bring all these tourists in off 195, and they're going to be walking up and down South Main Street. What are they going to do? Oh, there's the courthouse that Aaron Hernandez got convicted in. What else is on South Main Street? The Trio's closed up. You got a couple of small restaurants. It's like, what is it? I mean, have you ever been to Thames Street? Walk down Thames Street. Walk around Faneuil Hall in Boston. Walk around down at Cape. You really believe that we can compete with these destinations, which are very, very close? I mean, the absurdity of the people who govern this city. You wonder why we're in this condition, and then the mayor says, well, it's because they didn't raise taxes enough. Really? You also said that they spent money they didn't have, but that's the fundamental problem, Mr. Mayor. We not only spend money we don't have, we continue to spend the money, and we spend everything you get. So what good is it for you to get more money from us? So you can spend more? Because that's what we've done forever. Because the more money we give you, the more money you spend. And we don't pay our taxes for four consultants and a treasurers. We don't pay for all these. And I'm gonna give one quick quote here. I'm gonna give a quote for today because the absurdity of this made me look this quote up again because I knew it. It's Winston Churchill said this: "We contend that for a nation, in this case a city, to try to tax itself into prosperity is like a man standing in a bucket and trying to lift himself up by the handle." You know something? No truer words were ever spoken. You cannot tax your way into prosperity. As a matter of fact, there are many, many economists who understand a very simple fact. Prosperity is fueled by having money in the pockets of the consumers. You take a city where these people have virtually no discretionary cash, and you take their last nickel out of their pocket, and then you create stupid pie-in-the-sky fixes like tourism director and economic development director. Well, what are you going to develop economically? Nobody can buy anything. Nobody, I guess we're not going to out-tourist Newport. I mean, it's frustrating. And maybe it's because I've got a head cold and my head feels like a basketball, but I just really don't have the wherewithal to just, I look at this and it gets me so angry because it just never, ever ends. Everybody we put in those chairs, it's like the same garbage over and over and over again. Oh, we've got to work on tourism. We've got to work on this. Somebody mentions container shipping. They're like a leper. They banish them to a leper colony. And it's like, no, heaven forbid we actually get something that might work. No, let's pretend like the South Coast Rail. Remember the South Coast Rail? How many times were we told that was coming? That was told to us so often. It's now become among the greatest promises, like the checks in the mail. Now it's the South Coast Rail is coming. We can't fix the city until, number one, we realize that we've spent too much. We're bloated with patronage positions, and that the taxpayer needs money in his pocket to fuel business, and that the city needs to do one thing, and that's deliver essential services, not create more and more jobs for everybody on the planet that worked on your campaign.
Well, Chip, this is the truth. And the problem is that we're already seeing this happening. I mean, we got a new mayor who did everything that the previous mayor did. his first days on the job, he wanted to create 2 new positions, 2 new jobs, put them into city ordinance to say, hey, these are my friends. Okay? And he's still doing that. I can almost make bank on it. I can almost give you 10-to-1 odds that every person, sans the 2 previous mayors, on his transition team all have jobs very shortly. We already know one of them does. That's Lou Pacheco, Secret Service man. Rob Betlowski has one. I mean, and I'm guaranteeing you that Lisa Kaminsky is going to have one. Brad Kilby's going to have one. And all of these people are all going to have jobs because this mayor has not met a friend he can't find a job for. And you look at the history in the DA's office, the same thing happened. Okay? He's now looking at hiring a new assessor and more corporate counsel. Remember, we saved money, though, by getting rid of corporate counsel. We need some. Okay? We find out that Steve Torres is doing a lot of the work that corporate counsel should be doing, okay, to kind of meet up. And you know he's not doing it for free. Okay? We know we need a new assessor. We need a new planner because the previous planner who was hired, Dennehy, who was hired under Flanagan, jumped ship to go to Worcester or somewhere, or Woburn or whatever, as the economic development person. Well, she had a great teacher in economic development with Froed, so she knows how to destroy economy better than anyone else. But, whatever happened to, let's look at what we have. Let's do a quick cost-benefit analysis and say, and I'm going to pick Froed, because they're the prime target for cost-benefit analysis. This is how much money goes into them. This is what they produce. Nothing. Oh, but we, and I love the excuse, but we can't plan for the markets, but you can give away everything. And as soon as that everything comes to an end, so does the business. We can't be doing business that way. Plus, Froed knows how to, as you always say, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. He does work, Froed. Now remember, this is the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction or Development. And he goes outside of the city to do the work for Somerset, for Swansea, for Westport, for Sonnet. And we're not getting anything out of that. And he's saying, oh, no, the money that comes out of CDA, and no, it doesn't. The money comes out of my tax dollars. My tax dollars. Your tax dollars, Chip. Okay? If Froed's going to work on Froed, Froed better work for Froed, which is Fall River. It doesn't say the South Coast Office of Economic Development. It says the Fall River Office of Economic Development. Something that Ken Fiola has readily and regularly destroyed. Then we go into jobs, and now we're looking at giving everyone a job to shut them up. I mean, let's get real. And, Mr. Mayor, as far as I'm concerned about you being a data guy, Data was a character in Star Trek The Next Generation. Okay? He wasn't what you work with, because the numbers you work with are the lies that are given to you by the department heads in Fall River. Because get real, they're not going to provide numbers that are going to result in people getting fired, or more especially, them getting fired. This is a CYA city. Okay? And they will tell you everything they need to tell you to make the budget work. And then come back in 6 weeks and say, oh, this wasn't included in the budget. We didn't plan for it. We need another $2.5 million. And we give it to them like idiots. What we should be saying to them is this. You didn't put it in your budget. You should have known about it. Unless this is a disaster, it's not going to happen. But no, the city council goes, oh, what was ours? We have to give it to them. No, that's bull.
Well, you're right, CJ, and we all know, we talk about, you're talking about data and figures, and you know something, we'll get a little Zen on you now. I'll give you a Zen quote, knowledge is merely the gateway to the house of wisdom. So the knowledge you get from looking at data is just knowledge. You have to have the wisdom to understand more than that. It's like the tree in the forest. The data is the tree. If you look only at the tree and don't examine the whole forest, you don't really know how to apply data. Data is just a tool, and data can be wrong. The fact is you have to look at data and interpret data and try to apply that data into into a workable scenario. For example, many years ago, when they reorganized the city, they had a study that created a lot of data, and it was called the Coopers and Lybrand study, and they studied the fire department. And at the completion of that study, one of their recommendations was that we have less men on the night shift than we did on the day shift because we have less fires at night. So you look at that data, just like the data, other data, you go, well, okay, yeah, you have less fires. Well, not being professionals and not understanding and not really looking beyond that surface data, I had to go educate the city council at the time about the fact that 95% of the fires that we have loss of life or our high value fire losses, all 90 to 95% of the large loss fires occur in the evening when they go undetected for a while and they gain great headway, and more people die in the evening because they're sleeping and they're non-ambulatory. So there's a piece of data that was absolute bull, and they made that recommendation, and the city was going to try to implement it because they don't, the data is just data. And the other complicating factor in Fall River, which makes it even worse, the data, which then should be interpreted, isn't even accurate 99.9% of the time. Half of the data that we've seen is like, well, guess what? That's the data today. We've seen all the data that we got from our treasurer. At every city council meeting, the data was different. So, I mean, look, it's not rocket science here, people, but it's politics. And the reason that our city planner left was because, number one, she had no qualifications to be a city planner. But now she's got qualifications to be a political hack. She got a job in a city, and they go from one city to another when they have these administrative jobs, because what they've proven is they can keep their mouth shut and work with the people who are in. And those are the kind of people they like. Shut your mouth, we'll give you your paycheck, and you let us, and you cover for us. CYA, as you said, CJ. That's what happens. That's the reason that these political hacks, even though they have no qualifications, they get one entry-level position and then they go forever. Now she's in economic development. What credentials does she have? It's like our city assessor. Have we ever had a city assessor that is licensed, that's a licensed appraiser?
Not that I know of.
So how can you assess values of property if you're not an appraiser? I mean, when you get a mortgage, they don't say, hey, go down to City Hall, get that nitwit that doesn't know anything about, and let him appraise your house. No, you have to bring in a licensed appraiser and have your price and your house appraised. But no, the city of Fall River appraises your house, and they've got, hey, the mayor's cousin. You're walking around with a pencil and pad going, oh, yeah, this looks good. Yeah, let me see. Okay, we'll make this from $200,000. Good. And then you wonder why, look, government, there's a lot of stuff that, qualifications are the last thing. We've seen it all through the Flanagan administration. I don't think anybody that got hired for anything had any qualifications in the area. I mean, obviously our attorneys did, because they passed the bar, but I think, like I said, in Massachusetts they give it in crayon. And, they're gone now, and this is politics again. As you said, and as we said on this show months ago, at the beginning of his tenure, when he was saying, well, I'm paying for Lou Pacheco's salary, and I'm paying for these salaries with the money I saved by getting rid of the two lawyers. Didn't we say they're coming back? We're not going to run a law department with one person. Those jobs will rear their ugly heads again. The only thing that changes is the names. And nothing will change in Fall River until we, the people, demand that anybody elected is going to begin to do one thing: spend our money the way we want it spent on essential services and cut all this patronage out. If you got a cousin that needs a job, send him to the MBTA.
You have to admit that's very true. The funny thing is that we look at this and we sit here and laugh because we've already banged our head against the wall so often we're suffering massive concussions. The NFL is looking to us as research subjects. But this mayor had an opportunity, and to make some significant changes immediately, and he didn't do it. He didn't do it, which tells me right off the bat he doesn't have a backbone, and he needs to grow a set. City Councilor Linda Pereira said on the air and made comments to the fact that she would like to see actions be taken much more rapidly, and she's upset that they're not. And I have to say, you expected something any different? And remember, Linda, you supported this guy, okay? Remember, Ray Mitchell, you supported this guy. All right, you're just as guilty because you did it as well. And I'm sorry. People need to understand. We cannot be supporting nitwits, okay? And that's why a lot of people, including myself, believe all 9 of the city councilors need to go. That's why I firmly believe that if a strong candidate could come out with a set who does not owe anyone politically or feel he owes people politically, he needs to come in. And when he comes in, the first thing he needs to do in the first 100 days is to turn around and stop firing people. Everybody. Okay? What's your qualifications for this job? You don't have any? You don't need this job. Take a job as a minion or leave. End of story. 4 assistants, goodbye. Doesn't need it. We can't have that anymore. But you know what? The reality is Fall River needs every nitwit they got because somebody's got dirt on somebody. And that's the sad part.
Well, the fact is, as you said, CJ, there's got to be a drastic change in the way we do business, and it's not happening. And I'm not, I'm not gonna, I know that Sam Sutter has the brains to do the job because he's a bright guy. I mean, you can't take that away from him.
No, you can't.
He is a bright guy. But the fact is that, if you're going to change government, especially government, you have to have enough courage to do things that a lot of people are not going to be happy with, especially the political insiders. And he hasn't shown that ability. As a matter of fact, he's gone in just the opposite direction. I mean, his transition team was a conglomeration of every old political hack, like that he could get, and his half of his DA staff. So half of the people who are from out of the city don't have any idea about the structure of the Fall River government and about any department in Fall River. And then everything's after the fact. Now they're going to check DCM. You think he should have checked DCM the day he walked in? Do you think he should have eliminated the 2 supervisors, as you said? What we need is a man that walks in and said, hey, you guys didn't have these 2 new supervisors till a couple of years ago. You didn't have these 2 supervisors when your department was twice as big. See, you're no longer a supervisor. Get back on the trucks.
Exactly.
Or take a walk.
But
and the same thing in every department. How can we do it even on a fire department? We reduced 14 firefighters and created 2 new supervisory positions. These things have to be evaluated, and redundancies and fat has to go.
Hey, the man never called me and asked me for any help because let me tell you something. I already have a plan to solve this problem. They won't like it, but I've got the plan. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Friday. And boy, will we have some news then because all of it's going to hit the fan. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to watch that State of the City address.